Okay, so I just read The Help, and I also just watched the movie, and I don't want to tell you my opinion yet. First, I want to tell you some differences if you haven't seen the movie or read the book yet. My first difference that I really noticed, and I think is the most obvious difference, is that in the book, it's more mysterious throughout the book. You don't really know the whole plot line. Like, you know what's going on, but you don't know why certain things are happening. Like, you don't know the reason why Aibileen is so hurt and, like, is helping all these kids until very later in the book when you find out that her son was actually killed. And then it makes sense and you're like, oh, but the movie kind of just comes right out and says it towards the beginning, and so you know what's happening more in the movie than you did in the book. So I think that when at the end of the book, when you put the book down, you sit there and you're like, oh, but when at the end of the movie, when you cut the movie off, you're like, wow, because it's a really good movie, but it's also a good book. It's just like the end is just reveals so much. So I think that's one of the main differences. Another one is the book is more serious. There's funny parts, of course, but it's more serious than the movie. The movie has a lot of funny parts, and you're laughing a lot of the time. But the book, I honestly cried a few times in the book. I don't know if it was maybe because it was a tearjerker. There was just certain parts that they made you cry. Really, they were really sad. Another thing that I didn't like that they changed, I liked it better in the book, was the relationship between Skeeter and Stewart. I feel like in the book, it wasn't as pronounced that the relationship was there. It was just a little extra. I'm not sure why they included it. It didn't really make sense. They could have probably left it out, except that it showed how strong of a woman she is because she didn't want to have that man that forced her into doing everything, and it also showed that she wasn't just in it to get married. She wanted to actually go to college and get a job and make a name for herself. And in the book, she gave him in the movie, she gave him a second chance and actually got back with him, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that. And then another scene in the book that I definitely think they should have included in the movie, but they didn't, I don't know why, is one of the last scenes in the book when Skeeter is walking through the supermarket and she runs into two girls that had read the book, and they were telling her how much that they liked the book because they were one of the maids, or one of the women who actually took really good care of their maids, and they were like, I think it's wrong that people don't take care of their maids, and I really thought that was really good. So, yeah. One thing that I didn't understand why they did in the movie is in the book, Celia is never cured. Minnie stays there because Celia can't learn how to cook and can't learn how to clean, so Minnie stays, of course, to help her. But in the movie, one of the last scenes is Minnie coming over to Celia's house, and Celia has this big meal prepared for them, and I don't know, I didn't really like that, but I understand why they did it, I guess. It adds a good closing to the end of the movie. Another thing the movie could have done better is they could have, in the scene between Hilly and Skeeter's mom, when Hilly is going to tell on Skeeter for writing the book and she sees her mom and sees how sick she is, in the movie you wouldn't know that she's sick at all. Like, she looked really well, and I feel like if she was fighting this battle with cancer and losing really badly, that she should have looked sicker, because honestly, throughout the book, it wasn't obvious that she even had cancer. She said it like one time at the very beginning in the movie, and in the book, it was really obvious that her mom had cancer, and that she looked terrible, and yet she was telling Hilly that Hilly looked terrible, and I thought that was... I just think they could have elaborated more on the cancer in the movie, because it might have made it look a little bit better, I guess, toward the end. Overall, I thought the movie was better because I saw the movie first, but now that I've read the book has a lot more substance that the movie doesn't have, and that makes sense because you can include more in a book than you can in a movie, because you can't change the set every 5 seconds, and you can't include the little minor details that you can include in a book. But I think the book had... I liked how it divided up the characters' parts and had a different narrator each time, and I didn't like how the book or the movie was just, Skeeter was the narrator basically, and I didn't like that. Even though I know Skeeter should have been the narrator because she was writing the book, I think it was better. I think that the book was better because it really it brought you an emotion that the movie didn't bring you. Even though the movie is really good, and I wouldn't say don't watch it because it's a really good movie, I just think overall the book's better.